is they don't know nothing. It's that freshman receiver that you're passing the ball to, and he doesn't even know which way to run. He knows nothing. There are multiple methods of debt discharge that works. And those guys don't know how to do nothing. And if you're sending to the same place you used to send your checks every month, well, they're just processors. They're just data entry people. They don't know the first thing about the law. They know what their corporate policy is, and that's barely. They barely know what their own corporate policies are. They know nothing about discharging debt. A lot of these third-party debt collectors, Select Portfolio Services or some others, they're owned by an attorney. He's going to try 8 million ways to defeat you so that he can keep you as a debtor and keep paying that mortgage every month. Because every month that you pay a servicing company, you're just paying a management fee. It's virtually 100% pure profit for them. They don't give up. What happened? They don't give up on that stuff easily. They just don't. Would you? If you're getting $1,600 a month mortgage payment out of somebody, and their house has already been paid off, and then it's just a management fee, it's just rolling in the door, and you're doing that to 1 million people a month. 1,600 times 1 million? Well, that's a lot. You going to give up on them? They're just getting a management fee. Debt discharge is not the easiest thing we do. It's probably one of the hardest things that we do. Government, which includes utilities, hospitals, they're all government. Well, at least they're acting and pretending to be. Okay? Those places are usually easier to get rid of the debt. Third-party debt collectors, Select Portfolio Services, servicing companies on your mortgage. That ain't easy. That's hard. So what you do, you can discharge every debt, and I'm very confident of that. Every debt can be discharged. But what you do is this. 72-30-15-10 judgment day, put it on the public record, and then once you've done the banking process and they've failed in every way possible, you have set them up at the window for failure, then you just sue them. And you walk into the judge and you say, Judge, I followed banking process, I followed the law. Here's the laws that say I can discharge my debt. I've done this, and this, and they've acquiesced. I put the notice on the public record, and I left it there for 21 days, and they're in default. And the judge rules in your favor. Now, if it's a mortgage, that could be a little more difficult. But if you do it right, and what I mean by that is you put your property and land patent first, and Ron likes to tell people that your property must be paid off before you put it in land patent. Well, I got news for you, it does not. Here's what happens. If you put it in land patent and it has a mortgage on it, you run the risk of them coming and trying to foreclose. Legally, they cannot do that. Not even the government can take away a land patent property from you. There's 100 pages of law in the first part of that book that says that very thing. Because what they end up having at that point is an unsecured loan. And they can't prove that they have a higher right to your title than you, and they can't prove they have a viable note. In fact, most of these mortgage companies can't even find the note, the promissory note. And when you signed the promissory note at escrow, that paid off the house. They paid it off. So a lot of them are getting wise to all of us out there, and a lot of these servicing companies are trying to not bring out the note even if they have it. They're trying to not show it. Because if they do give it you a copy and you do have it and you do see that there's wedding signatures, you can ask them if that note paid off the loan. And it did. It is very hard, especially if you're an accountant. Any accountants in the room? There's a few. It is very hard to think as a creditor and not a debtor. It is. It's a mind shift for you. How many people know their credit score? I know mine too. It's way up there. They'll give me anything I want. If I walked in the bank, I'd probably get a $100,000 credit card. I don't want it. Unless I go to the bank and I say, we're going to sign a promissory note. You're going to sell the security, because that's what a bank's in the business to do. And when I give you my signature, I am the creditor. Issue me a piece of plastic I can use as my convenience. Now I'm on the creditor's side. It's the same with buying a house. Not filling out the loan application with a promise to repay. That's what debtors do. And that signature that you do on the application creates the money that bought the house. The house was paid off, and you spend 30 years paying them a management fee for doing the work for you. What I tell them is, I need a $50,000 line of credit. Why don't you make the promissory note for $60,000? You keep $10,000 as your management fee, and we'll just pull the money out of my trust and give me a piece of plastic for my convenience. And then when the trust puts money in my bank account every month, I just pay the payment. But I'm acting as a creditor. Otherwise, I could only use the $50,000 once. The card wouldn't have anything on it. You can do that too. You can get a $50,000 piece of plastic, and then you go use it. And pretty soon it's 40, and then it's 30, and then it's 20, and then it's 10, and then it's 5, and then it's 0. You can throw it away and go do it again. Get another one. You never have to make a payment if you set it up that way, but you're the trustee. You can set it up any damn way with the bank you want to set it up if you're operating on the creditor side. See, nobody thinks like that, do they? It's because you've been indoctrinated to think like a debtor, like I got to go borrow money and then I got to repay it. And how much can I afford each month with my measly little job at $35,000 a year? I don't think like that at all. I learned what a creditor means. It's so much different. A bank's corporate charter says that a bank is in the business of creating a security. Do you know why there's Wells Fargo bank branches on the corners all through the towns? But there's one great big one in downtown Dallas. Because that's the creditor's bank. The debtors go to the little bank branch and beg for money. The slaves go beg for money. The creditors walk in, they sit down with a private banker, and they show them they have access to their trust. They show them they know how to operate as a private banker themselves, and that they tell them the bank's in the business of creating a security, so let's create one. How much do we need? And they do a promissory note. They create a security. They do it for a little extra because a man is worthy of his hire. And Mr. Private Banker here that works for Wells Fargo in downtown Dallas in the big high rise, he needs to make a living. And they got to pay for that building. So if I need $100,000, how much do you have to make, Joe? You need an extra 20 points on top of that? All right, let's do the promissory note for 120. You go out and sell it on the market. Hand me $100,000. We're both happy. Here's my signature. Because it's your signature that created the money. And that's how thinking as a creditor is. And I try not to teach this in these low-level classes because people's minds go, but that's all they did when you filled out an application with the promise to pay as a debtor is they created a promissory note. They had you sign that in escrow. And they went out and got the money out of your trust by creating that security. Because banks are in the business of what? Creating securities, not lending money, not having deposit boxes. That's convenience items. That's the 7-Eleven part of their job. That's their convenient part. So the debtors walk in and they have services they can provide. But the bank's only in the business of what? Creating securities. And when you read banking law, that's all it tells you. That's the bank's business. And a court is a? Wait a minute, you thought you were getting justice? The banks are administering your trust and creating bonds and securities. That's what the courts are doing. And they use Mr. Policeman under policy to go create that cause of action to bring them clients. He might as well be standing out there with a sandwich board hanging over him on the side of the road, directing the traffic into the courthouse. Sorry about that, Davis. I love you, brother. Yeah, I love that man. He is so smart. And how do I know that? Because he shows up and he calls me. That puts him way above the rest. I invite them all to come. Come on down, police officers. Come on down. And very few show. And that's why I love him. He shows up. I wish they'd all show up. You know, President Trump could have flew in a little early today, been here. Then went and did his thing at 8 o'clock tonight. I would have let him go at 6. Secret Service could have cleared the freeway. He would have been there on time. He had all day today to be sitting here with us. Where is he? See, they don't show up. And I'm tired of yelling at them. But you got to understand, I'm up here because I'm one of we the people. I'm a state national. I'm up here. It's a bottom-down form of government. We turn the triangle upside down and the people are on top. That's what a state national is. There are public servants. Be nice to them. And educate them. That's our job as a state national is be nice, educate. Be nice, educate. They'll come around eventually. Or they'll show their true colors. And when they show that they're evil, well, sue them, own their home, get them out of office, do something to change their mind, give them an opportunity to repent. And if they don't repent, well, that's what a rope is for, I guess. That's what our founding fathers would have did. And it's in federal law. It's okay. It really is. They don't understand the power of the people Because for 150 years, they've never let the people act because they've never taught them the proper things in school. If we were reading the right books in school and learning the right history and we were following God's word, we'd know exactly how to act. He tells us in Daniel, in the Bible, how to treat our public servants. This is such a beautiful thing. Debt. You don't think I got off the subject. I didn't. That's the problem with discharging debt. It has nothing to do with you. If you do everything properly, you can eventually discharge debt if you keep moving forward. But sometimes that requires moving up the court ladder too. Debt discharge was given to us by Congress because they confiscated all of our gold and silver to pay the debts of the United States, and they owe it to us. Do you understand that? My grandfather, he was a geologist for the state of California right around the turn of the last century. My dad was born in 1914, okay? My mom was born in 1970. My dad started World War I, and my mom ended it. And trust me, she did. They never fought another day in their life. And they lived happily married their entire life. That's something I always wanted and never was able to achieve. That's my one failure. I've always wanted just one woman that I could love and look up to. And it didn't work out that way for me. There's my failure. Okay? But here's the thing. You can be perfect at debt discharge. You need to learn the process, and you can be perfect. And then just don't give up until you get to the right person. And then take it as far as you possibly can. And eventually, you win every time if you don't quit. Most people don't quit. They'll mail it one time, a lot. Right there, if everybody in here mailed the letter one time to their debt, the odds are, and I've watched it for 30 years, so I pretty much know, half would quit when they said, no, I'm not going to do it. A quarter of them would mail the second and maybe even the third letter. Very few will get through the entire process. And then we get a whole bunch of people on Telegram says, I did it and it worked for me. That's this little group out of a whole bunch. It worked for me, it worked for me. And then there's one little group sitting way over there that says, oh, that David's shit doesn't work. And it's my fault. I just tell people what the law is, tell them what the process is, and it's up to you to make it work. It's not up to David. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, because I've made it work for myself. I've made it work for hundreds of others who will keep working. I can't control the ones that give up. And I sure as hell can't control the attitude of the ones that give up, and they're mad about it. So let them say what they will. I don't care. It's a numbers game. It really is. And you just love on your people when you give them the right stuff. And debt discharge is one of the toughest things we do. The other one's trying to get an MCO out of the DMV. Out of all the things that we do, to me, that's the two hardest. Except when a mother, single mom, loses a child, she's completely broke, she's lost everything, she's paid everything to attorneys, she's done everything they've told them to do, she's jumped through all the hoops, and they're still evil. And then that's hard. Those are our three tough things. Everything else is pretty easy. All right.
Can you hear me? Okay, next one's holding our public servants accountable. Been fortunate and blessed to correct the ways of some county clerks. I've now moved to putting Bass Pro Shop on notice and another gun shop because they failed to accept my passport and my nationality to procure arms. I anticipate invoicing them when I go back to see them here in the next week or two.
All right. First of all, quit supporting these big corporations to buy arms. Okay. See? All right, now I know his motivation. I have so much fun with our gun stores. I really do. I walk in there with a big old smile. I'll see all their Second Amendment signs all over, and I'll take note of every single one of them in the store, and I'll walk around, and I'll lay hundreds of dollars down to buy an arm. And they'll come up and they'll say, we need a background check. We need, you can't buy a suppressor without a tax stamp and going through the ATF. And I said, bullshit, that doesn't apply to me. And they go, what? I said, that doesn't apply to me. My permit was issued December 15, 1791, and it shall not be infringed. And free men don't ask permission. And they say, well, I can't sell you anything without filling out the paperwork. And I said, so what you're telling me is you don't believe in the Constitution and the Second Amendment. Is that correct? I said, I knew that already before I walked in because I saw the words firearms, 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 and it's even in your name of your business. I love it when it's in their name. I said, so obviously, you're just a corporate slave to a foreign government, and you don't believe in the Constitution and the Second Amendment of the United States. Now, you want to piss a gun dealer off. That's exactly what you say to them, because especially if they're ex-military. And I have a great time doing this. Because they say, what do you mean? I say, well, I know you got a Second Amendment poster over there, and one over there, and one over there, and one over there, and one over there in your store, but that's all a lie, isn't it? Is that to collect money for the NRA or one of those other gun organizations that blow it on their own capital? What is the purpose of those? Because you sure don't believe in the Second Amendment. And I'm going to get them good and pissed off. And then I'm going to say, well, I'm a customer. I'm here to spend real money, and here it is. This is what you accept. I don't particularly like giving debt notes. I love Bonnie. Bonnie walks in these little stores, even if it's a coffee shop, and some little gal's there in her 20s and doesn't know anything, and she goes, do you take FRNs? And to watch the look on their face is incredible. They don't even know what an FRN is. They've never read the top of a $1 bill or a 10 or a 20. They don't know what an FRN is. I've had them say, I don't know, I'll go ask the manager. Oh, wait, you don't need to do that, really. It's the funniest thing ever. This is how dumb we've been dumbed down. These are high school graduates, and they don't know what an FRN is. It's one of the funnest things. But I have so much fun when I'm out there, and I'm just dealing with normal, everyday people, and especially gun dealers. It's one of my favorite things to do in my spare time, which I don't have much of, but I love doing it. I've been to every gun dealer in probably a 20-mile radius of this place right here. And I've had this conversation. Well, at the crazy gun dealer store right down here, right up the highway on 67, orange building, people come from miles around to shop there. His prices aren't even that good. I don't know. It must be marketing. His ammunition prices are way too high. But anyway, I walk in there to buy a gun, and I pay cash, and have it on the table, and they put my name on it, give me a receipt, everything, and then they want me to fill out the paperwork. So I went through what I just told you a minute ago about all their signs, not selling. I buy arms. I have safes with arms in them. I don't own any firearms because that's just shit made up. It's a definition of a term. In our founding documents, you will never find the word firearm. You won't find it in all of our history until about the 1930s. It's an arm. It's an extension of your arm. Okay? It is not a firearm. Firearms, a definition that the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms made up. It's a word they made up. Just like the FBI made up sovereign citizen. How stupid is that? When the President of the United States stands on stage multiple times and says that the people are sovereign, and they make you think it's a bad word? It's the greatest compliment they could ever give, but they're too stupid to even know that. And then they tack the word citizen on it, and that's just an oxymoron then at that point. See? But they don't truly believe in arms. So I told the great crazy gun dealer down here, because I was buying Bonnie an FN57. I says, get the ATF on the phone. See, I ain't afraid, and I know how to take it to the next level. So it was the owner of the store and one employee and me and the ATF. And I said, put it on speaker. You okay back there? I think somebody's tripped. Okay. So the ATF's on the phone. And they asked me for a driver's license and why I won't produce a Texas state driver's license. And I tell them, well, I don't own one. I don't need one. I say, I travel all over this state, and I do it at quite amazing speeds sometimes. And I've never needed one yet. Why should I start now? And he goes, oh, you don't have a driver's license? It's like they're shocked. They think everyone has one. Well, I don't. He goes, what other forms of ID do you have? Okay, you got that? What other forms of ID do you have? I says, I have a Republic of Texas ID. He goes, it got a number on it? I said, yeah. He had the gun dealer take a picture of it with his phone, send it over to him to his cell phone. Well,